on AM. Now, maybe it's a late game, 1995. You might want to explain Dr. 20777. Yeah, 20777. And you tell his motivation. Hell if I know. There you have it, folks, from an official of the Federal Communications Commission. By the way, tonight my call clients, my caller, don't let the family know you don't want us not to look over it. 3 dirty toenails. Oh, good. I'm glad. Yeah, glad you can join us on the AM radio network. And now good morning from the Gaithersburg Ham Fest at the Montgomery County Fairgrounds in Maryland. A Ham Fest, of course, is an electronic flea market.
Something to work on in the computer as far as parts, and I'm going back into the radio as heavily as I can.
It doesn't work, but I like that stuff to work again. I've got a DS100 on the air, but I've been looking for a B model for quite a while. Now, what is it about the old gear?
Well, it's nostalgia, of course. I've used to these sort of things. Back when, like this kind of rig was typically on the market in the late 40s, early 50s, I could afford these things.
Speaking with Pete Martin, CWA, you've come down from New Orleans. Your specialty is finding the presentation it takes to tell us about that.
That's correct. One of my major issues over the last several years is when we buy equipment here at Hanfest, and we spend the next 6 months, let's go look at the manuals. So I've taken it upon myself to start collecting manuals, replicating them where necessary, getting them out and selling them.
And 3LAC has come down from Carlisle, Pennsylvania with a 600-pound C358. That was about that.
Okay, Paul. The transmitter was found in the salvage yard. It was in a funnel at the time, and it was brought home, washed down, scrubbed down. The doors slide out, so the 650 pounds is not all that. I tried it. We haven't really met I'm kind of hooked on the nostalgia bug, and I'm collecting all the power tractors, receivers, and probably going to start looking for some of the transmitters in the future. Texture, it's there. You can put it down to paint the cover, but you can't cover the tactile part of it. Anyway, this is what, it's all faded here on the top. So this is a before. This is one that I brought for the hand from the Stu Meyer estate. I forget what here goes for about $400. This is a receiver that has 2 filters in it. It has the vernier 4-to-1 reduction knob, and they go for about $400 in that state. After it's done, you add the electronic mods, the cosmetic mods, the paint job, the extra filters. This one's sold here today for $1,050.
Everybody see the small print here?
Yeah.
Alright. The known code fellow just came in to check on his radio. And he says, "Hey, you fixed my site." Anyway, that was just a rough demo tape of Gaithersburg. And I'm going to play, just while we wait 5 more minutes to start, last year's demo tape. Is the RCA
BTA-1R.
BTA-1R. We won't have a show of hands today. Did you notice on that last demo tape that the Gaithersburg Hamfest has a special event AM station that has a T368, and I think the fellows are planning to do the same thing this year. So it's quite a thing.
Okay, we're going to go on a little bit of a radio tour here.
Recognize the melodious tones?
Handfester.
That sounds good through all the garbage. WB3HUZ and 2GBY.
Ah, yes. Live on the air. And what we have here is the usual Viking 2, only it's being externally driven by this guy here. Some audio processing stuff here. Mixer, receiver audio amplifier, which is here coming out of the R390. And if you crane your necks up there, you can see the high up in the sky diaper pole. But honestly, I had nothing to do with this. They all did it, and I'm just here being your man on the street, reporting, or non-reporting, whatever the case may be. We have some, it's orange coas, must be military, maybe it's double shielded, going down and right into the station here. It looks like we're back on the air. So I think I'm going to wrap it up for now. We'll have some other guests or ghosts of the airwaves here. Number 3 at the Gaithersburg Hamfest. This W3DUQ up here in Pennsylvania. Radio sounding good there, Paul. Good afternoon to you. Not hearing any background noise. Occasionally I can hear a voice that sounds like it's maybe 20 feet or so from the microphone, but way, way, way in the background. I can tell you guys are outside. It's got good outside non-reverberating modulation there. So, putting it down on Mylar, eh? Well, this is a big 10-watt radio from Icedale. If you need more, let me know there, good buddy. WB3HUZ 403 with the nice group here. This is W3DUQ. N2JTD. W3PWW. N2GBY.
Okay, N2JTD, N2GBY, and W3PWW recognized. N2JTD, why don't you make a transmission? Go ahead.
Well, hello Gaithersburg Hamfest. Here's your sign in WB3HUZ. I'm kind of in and out here. This is N2JTD. Just going to start some serious listening. I heard Bill on there. Hello, Bill, and George. Several other fellas. You guys sound pretty good up here. Almost sounds like the band's open to Europe a little bit. I hear a little bit of German something or other underneath. Kind of unusual. So how is it? Any nice back?
Was closet AM or something?
Welcome to the AM Forum, Dayton Ham Mentioned 1996. We're lucky enough to have a station, or part of his station, with the two broadcast transmitters side by side and his board from his main operating position. And then the first tape we saw was the tape from the last Gaithersburg, where they had a T368 set up in a prime location and enjoyed operating and drawing a lot of people to vintage radio and to AM. And then the second tape was last year's Gaithersburg, or the year before, where they had the Viking 2. So maybe they'll go down with something even bigger this year. But I'm glad you're here, and the AV person isn't here. And I want to walk over and change some slides. So I think there might be another mic around, but we'll just make do with the audio equipment that we have. Now, some of you may have seen in the program that we expected to have Tom K1JJ with us to talk about what's been happening in the northeast with QRP rigs. And Tom's mother, who's advanced in age, was a reason for him to stay home. I don't know exactly what the issue was, but I don't think it was serious. But we decided maybe we made a mistake going with a low power option, so we decided to fail on the other side. And Tim, WA1HLR, is going to talk from some pictures that he took on the installation of the 50 kilowatt transmitter at WJCR in Tennessee. And of course Tim is with Armstrong Transmitter, and they redo transmitting equipment and install it for Tim, I guess, all over the world. Or at least he's been in North and South America with some installations. We'll have a short AMI update first, and then we're going to have Vern, WA0 RCR, talk a little bit about utilizing how we as AMers ought to utilize that bulletin service out of the St. Louis area, Wentzville, Missouri. And depending on how much time we have left over, we have some other things that we can do as well, some other slides. So I'm so glad you're here. I'm Dale Gagnon, the moderator, and let me just launch into this AMI update. Should have had a quiz. Somebody who could remember what the purposes of AM International is. And many of you are already signed up in AMI, but with the unfortunate demise of spam, that is, they sailed over the horizon and were not heard from again, it was important to organize so that we'd have visibility with the ARRL and FCC and anybody else who might come along. A number of us banded together and came up and used the old title of a West Coast AM group, AM International. And we want to enjoy AM. And how many of out there are enjoying AM today when you go home? I knew I was going to get some hands on that. And we want to promote AM. Now, we don't want necessarily everybody operating AM, then we'd have some big problems. Because the band space is limited, but we want to promote it to as an excellent part of the hobby. And I know that the operating events that we have, that we get on, and some of you have made contacts with league people and local officials. We have really excellent rapport right now, and we promote AM, and we want to preserve AM. And one way we can preserve AM is make sure that we get on and operate, because we've seen that fellows like Les, K6HQI, when he would operate night after night after night, he made a hole in the band at 20 meters. And since he's been gone, some of the rest of us, had whatever schedules and propagation problems. That hole for AM is not in the band. So, John, take back to the West Coast. Anybody who can make that commitment from your end, and the East Coasters and those in between, we need to make that commitment sometimes and make sure that those AM frequencies get used once in a while. And that's a good way we can preserve our mode. Just to encourage you, this is the shortest part of the program, so this drill. But we're at 887, the number of certificates. And last year I announced that we'd grown by 26%. We were 720 this time last year, and we'd grown by 26%. So I guess that's another 20+%. So we will probably make over 1,000. These are pretty good numbers. And I dropped the line to Dave Sumner when we hit 500, and I'll drop a line when we hit 1,000. Just a little reminder, we're out there, and we really appreciate how everybody goes to bat for AM. Get it? So also we got exciting news that I've heard back from the various boards of directors and in the various regions for AMI, and we have their names just to remind you, but we're going to have a Canadian region. And I just think it's fitting that AM International has some international quality to it, and sure enough Canada will give that to us. But Ed Sieb put together a nice little proposal. We'd talk to him and see if he was interested. And if he could get some other people to stand with him up there, so we put a nice proposal together, and the other AMers that are recommending him and nominating him, and then we circulated that to the various directors, regional directors, and they have been giving us thumbs up, so we'll have one additional region, and like I said, it'll give us that international flavor. This is the current lineup. Right now I'm serving as president, and Warren Ziegler is serving as treasurer. He moved from Saratoga Springs. He withdrew our funds. He's in Brazil somewhere now. We're trying to track him down. Really, you couldn't get to Brazil, New York from Saratoga Springs with the funds in AMI. But he's moved to Eastern Massachusetts, and he's doing a good job for us. He's going to send me the balance one of these days. We probably have a couple $100 in the bank. But you know many of these famous AMers. If you're not getting the press exchange or electric radio or listening to the Gateway 160 meter net, you probably aren't in touch with what's happening with AM International. In fact, there really hasn't been too much on the 160 meter bulletin service and Gateway net, but we want to use that more, and Vern's going to be talking to us about that in a few minutes. But principally electric radio. Barry gives us column time once every other month, and he's always hammering away because he knows the visibility for AM is good for vintage radio. Well, let me just say, instead of go through a couple more slides, that the important operating events are actually Armed Forces Day, which today is it. And it's unfortunate because we're not at home operating our military rigs. But then the AMI Discovery Weekend, and that's one of these visibility events. You know, if we all operate an hour here and there, we may not have an impact. But if we all get on Saturday morning of AMI Weekend, somebody will say, where did all these AM signals come from? I didn't know that stuff was still around. Though that can't be true based on the prices that some of the stuff is going for out in the flea market. Somebody must understand about these vintage radios. But also in Thanksgiving, the AM Jamboree, we have a good time there, and many of you sent in logs and got certificates in return. So at this point in time, we'll have a little bit more later, but I wanted to introduce Tim, WA1HLR, and he's going to come up and give us a little background about the slides, and then Tim, I guess I'm going to operate the slide projector.
Okay.